In this lesson, we'll build the interior of our sprocket. So we want to build the interior part that's going to actually rotate around, and we want to have a spot on it for the pedals to come out, and we want that spot to be on a different side. So if we're looking at the right hand side here, we want it to be, let's say, at the bottom, and then over here on the left we want it to be at the top. Okay, so let's start by just creating a primitive, and let's create a pipe. Let's rotate the pipe 90 degrees, and we'll just kind of get it in a good position here. So kind of scale it here. Let's change under poly pipe, we'll change the thickness, so make it a little bit thinner. Alright, we can go ahead and take that down here. It can extend a little bit beyond. Alright, so we end up with something like that. Now I want to have the detail that I create mirrored over on the other side, except I want it, instead of on the bottom, to be on the top, let's say. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and add one subdivision along the height. Okay, and then let's come in with a wireframe view, and I'm just going to cut off one side. So we've just got one piece here coming out from the middle. Okay, and those polygons are deleted. So now we'll work on this side. And I want to have a little bit of detail coming up here. So let's insert an edge loop because we don't have enough resolution to be able to get that. So we'll go to Insert Edge Loop tool and add that edge loop right in there. Alright, then we can select the faces that we want to use and extrude those up. Okay, if we want to finish our extrude, then we can come in with our scale that down to create that sort of effect there where it's coming up. Alright, now we can smooth it and see what that looks like. It loses a lot of volume in here, so we want to tighten that up. Again with our Insert Edge Loop tool, just coming in, tightening up some of those edges. Alright, maybe on the inside we'll leave that there so it's kind of smooth. Okay, so that's a bit sharper there. Let's go ahead and just scale it up a bit. Now that's going to affect our interior points, so we'll have to make sure to look at those before we go over to the other side. Let's take these edges right in here on the back of this extrusion, and I want it to be a little bit softer, so I'm going to actually just kind of pull those in, pull them down a bit, so we end up with something like that. Alright. Now we can tighten that up a little bit, and here we'll just do a quick extrude and just scale that down slightly. Okay, so we end up with something like that. Now I want to have the same thing on the other side, except I want this portion to be up at the top. So the first thing I'll do is come into the front view and just make sure. Now it looks like it's okay because our pivot when we're scaling was at the center, but if it's not, you can select those points and you can hold down X and translate and just pop those to the center line. Alright. Okay. So now we need to get that over to the other side, but I want to be able to modify it. So instead of mirroring, if we were to go in and mesh mirror geometry, which is a really useful tool, if we go ahead and mirror that, you can see I get just a mirror image, and I want to actually not have a complete mirror image. I want to have this flipped. So I'm going to go ahead and just duplicate it, and let's actually undo that and freeze our transforms first and duplicate it, and then we can just put in a nice one. And now if we take both of these and let's just isolate them, and let's show our wireframe. So now I have this one, and I want to actually rotate it so this one's on top. So I'm rotating it in the X. If I rotate that 180 degrees, then those lines match up, which is what we want, and then we have this one right on the top, now opposite. Alright, so now what we can do is take both of these and do a combine. Since it's a new object, it takes it out of our isolate select, so we can go ahead and load selected object if we want. Go to a wireframe, okay, and then we can come in here and we'll select these points. They should be pretty much on top of each other. Let's go ahead and delete history. If we look at these points, you can see they're not merged, so we'll select all these points, okay, which is just those center points, and let's go to Edit Mesh Merge, okay, and let's go ahead and merge. Now if we look at this merge input, this is something that you may run into when you're doing a merge, or even when you're doing a mirror that has a threshold. We have a distance here, so if we increase the distance, you can see it's looking from those points, and anything within this distance, it's going to merge those together, which obviously is not what we want. So we want to have a small enough distance to where it will only get the points that are right next to it, and it's not going to affect any points on the other side. So in this case, 0.01 works great. If we do, let's say 0.1, still works pretty well. 0.5 doesn't work at all. 0.2, 0.3. So once we get to that point, it doesn't really work at all. So 0.01, because they're pretty much on top of each other already, should be fine. We go ahead and click on one of those points. You can see it's now merged together. Same thing on the inside. So you don't have to click each individual point to merge them together. You can actually group select a lot of different points and do that. That helps a lot. Just keep in mind you have that distance or threshold, it's called in other tools. All right, so that's the interior of our sprocket. In the next lesson, let's go ahead and modify this frame piece here so that we can integrate this into it, not have anything penetrating through. So we'll go ahead and do that in the next lesson.